Hey guys, Hayden here from Top Dog Tutoring. Let's go through the 2016 English grammar, punctuation and spelling paper, notoriously known as one of the hardest papers ever made. So if we can get these ones right, then I think we can solve any GPS paper in the future. So here we go. I'm going to walk through this paper and I'm going to just give you snippets of learning as we go. I will explain each question when I feel like it's appropriate. So here we go then with number one. Draw a line to match each word to the correct suffix to make an adjective. So feel free, if you want to, you can pause all the way through this video every time we do a question, see if you can get it right first, and then see if you agree with my answers. That might be a really good way to learn. So manage, what does it work with? Let's try all options. Manage-ish, manageable, manageful. Well, when something's manageable, it means we can do it, right? Harmish, harmful, easy, harmful, and then selfish makes sense. Nice, easy number one to start with. Number two, complete the sentence below by writing the conjunctions from the box in the correct places. Use each conjunction only once. Okay, 3 places, 3 conjunctions. Be really careful here. You may bring sandwiches, juice, water for the trip. Glass bottles are not allowed. Now that screams at me but, right? This is like you can do this or this, but you can't have this one. So that's gone. You may bring sandwiches and juice or water. Now the reason I went for this is because juice and water are both liquids, so it kind of makes sense that you get a choice there of these, this or this, whereas it wouldn't make as much sense to say sandwiches or juice. I reckon that's and that's the way to do it. Number 3, circle the object in the sentence below. If you're already thinking the object, is that just are we speaking physical objects? No, in grammar terms, sentences work like this. We have a subject and then a verb and then an object. So all basic sentences follow this kind of pattern here. So the subject is the first noun to come up. So my friend, this is the subject. The verb is bought. So the object is the next thing, a cake. Okay, so if I make my actual answer really clear now, I'm going to get rid of the other stuff because I don't want to lose marks. There's my actual answer there. There's the cake. The cake is my object. You could just put cake or you can put a cake. Is both acceptable. So remember that for later. Subject, verb, object is how a sentence is formed. Number 4, draw a line to match each sentence to the correct determiner. Use each determiner only once. So if you don't know what a determiner is, you can probably work it out from these bits here. It determines how much of the noun there is. So a, the, and an are probably the most common determiners. At the zoo, we saw an owl, wouldn't we? So we know that when the next word starts with a vowel, we use an instead of a. There was also a cute baby penguin. So because cute doesn't start with the vowel like owl, we use a. So it should leave the. I thought it was the best day ever. Fantastic, that works well. So it says draw a line. So even though I wrote it in, go back, guys. Never forget to check what the question was actually asking us to do. This one needs to join to an. This one needs to join to the, and this one joins to a. Okay, you've always got to be careful. The amount of times I've seen children where it says circle 1 and they end up like ticking 3 for some reason. Okay, number 5. Tick the option that must end with a question mark. So we're looking for the question. Now you can see, look, most of them look like they could be a question, right, by the way they start. What we ate for dinner was very unusual. Cool fact. That's the way I like to think about it. I think, is someone just telling me a fact? Yes, they are. That's not a question. Can you guess what we ate for dinner? That sounds like a question to me. Ask me what we ate for dinner. Well, that's just telling you to do something. That's not actually a question. That's kind of prompting someone to ask you a question, but this isn't a question itself. I will tell you what we ate for dinner. Cool fact. So it's definitely this one is the clearest question there, and others are just a bit of traps for you to fall into. What happened to the boxes here, guys? Which sentence uses the colon correctly? So another bit of learning for you guys. To use a colons introduce things, right? And when you're using it in a sentence like the ones below, you must understand this rule. You always use a main clause before a colon. This is a group of words that make sense by itself. And the colon is introduced usually to directly introduce something that main clause is suggesting. So let me show you the right answer. It should sound a bit like this. I brought several beach toys. There's the end of my main clause. My colon suggests that I'm going to tell you what those beach toys are. I brought several beach toys. A bucket, a spade, a ball, and a kite, which is why the third one is the correct use of the colon, is in the right place there at the end of the main clause, introducing the list that comes after it. Number 7, complete the sentence with an appropriate adverb. Guys, there's lots of answers you could do here. Remember, what adverbs do? Well, they modify the verb. They tell you how or when the verb happened. Okay, so really easy ones. Think of an ly word. She completed her homework quickly. I think that's probably the most common answer you'd see there. But you could also put something like this. She completed her homework yesterday. Okay, see how that's still an adverb? Because it fits my rule of when or how for the first one, okay? So lots and lots of different answers there. Maybe you can Google yours just to check if you got something else. Number 8, tick 2 boxes to show where the missing inverted commas should go. Okay, let's read it. Always read the whole thing through in your head with expression. I'll do it out loud, obviously. Don't do it out loud in the test. People will start looking at you. Roman life was unlike modern life, the archaeologist said. Okay, well, it's clearly this bit is the reporting clause. No one said that bit. No one said the archaeologist said. However, Roman life was unlike modern life is exactly the bit that is speech, so therefore it needs inverted commas around it. So I've ticked the 2 boxes. Number 9, insert 1 comma in the correct place in the sentence below. Limping slightly, the old man walked to the end of the road. Hang on, let's put some expression in it and hear where it goes. Limping slightly, the old man walked to the end of the road. I think it's so obvious. I don't know about you guys, but when you just put a bit of expression to the sentence, you can just hear where that pause is. And that pause is because this is where we go from a fronted adverbial here to a main clause, which starts here. The actual main sentence that makes sense by itself starts here, and this is extra information, okay? It's modifying the verb, limping slightly. That's how he walked. Number 10. Tick 1 box in each row to show if the sentence is in the present progressive or the past progressive. Now, there's 2 things about this question. Number 1, progressive tense. No one likes learning about that, right? Progressive tense, really simply, is when you use your verb, but you try to make sure it has ing on the end. It sounds like it's still happening. It's still progressing, is the way I say it at school. And the other thing about this question that makes it quite nice is the fact that they're both progressive. You can kind of ignore it. You can pretty much ignore that, guys. You're just looking for which one's in present tense, which one's in past tense, because they're both progressive. So sort of ignore that bit. Joey was playing football in the park after school. Well, what does was suggest? That suggests the past tense, right? Joey's football skills are improving. Okay, present tense. Joey is hoping to be a professional footballer. Okay, that question wasn't as hard as we thought it was, because we can kind of ignore the ing thing, which is here, by the way. You can see it in the actual questions there. That makes it progressive, but it was very obvious whether it was past or present. Number 11, replace the underlined word or words in each sentence with the correct pronoun. So pronouns, he, she, it, they, words that replace proper nouns or nouns. When Sarah came to the end of the road, Sarah turned right. You just wouldn't say that, would you? You'd say she. When Sarah came to the end of the road, she turned right. Or it'd be he. We don't know. We can presume Sarah's a girl, so you can put she or he there. The pavement had a large hole and Sarah fell into the hole. Again, you would replace that because it's an object. You'd replace it with it. Okay, it's not a person like he or she. Number 12. Which sentence uses the hyphen correctly? So a hyphen looks exactly like a dash, as you can see here, but a bit differently to dashes. If you were to type on Microsoft Word, and I urge you to try this because most people don't know this, if you were to open up a Word document and use a dash, which means you have a space either side of it, you'll actually notice it's a slightly different length to when you use a hyphen where you don't use spaces around it. It just goes from one letter straight into the hyphen to the next letter. There's no space, and they are actually slightly different lengths despite being the same key on your keyboard. So what do hyphens do? They make compound words. They join 2 words together to make them into one singular meaning, one single idea. So the correct answer here is we want to show that the lollies are sugar-free. We want sugar-free to be the single idea. So number 1's looking promising. Number 2 suggests that sugar-free lollies are all one idea. They're not. You've got an adjective describing the noun. So they are 2 ideas. We've got the sugar-free lollies are available in 3 flavours. It's suggesting that 3 flavours is one idea when it's not, is it? Again, you've got a determiner. 3 is determining how many of the flavours. They're separate ideas. And then again at the bottom here, looking like the top one. Oh no, it's a bit different to the top one, sorry. We've got the sugar-free lollies. That kind of suggests that the lollies are free, doesn't it, if anything? And it's like sugar is the main thing. The sugar-free lollies. It doesn't really make any sense, to be honest with you. The first one was the best answer. The sugar-free lollies are available in 3 flavours. Sugar-free is becoming one idea, one adjective. Number 13, which sentence shows you that you are most likely to be away next week? This is a question about modal verbs. Modal verbs give you a sense of possibility, how likely something is to happen. I could be away next week. It's not that likely. I might be away. I may be away. Those three are kind of similar, aren't they? It's like I could be, could not be, 50-50. I shall be away next week suggests that you absolutely are going away. There is a 99% chance, unless something crazy happened, that you're going. So you're most likely to be going with shall. Number 14, draw a line to match each sentence to its correct function. Use each function box only once. So we've got question, command, statement, exclamation, classic. Start with the easy ones, guys. Find the question, find the statement, and then you can work on the other ones. So the question, let's have a look. I expect, that's not, no, straight away, that's not a question. Are we likely to have good weather this weekend? That is a question, isn't it? So now we're down to 3. Let's go for a command, shall we? A command is when you're telling someone to do something. So it starts with a bossy verb, an imperative verb. Now, the only one here that is starting with an imperative verb is this third one here. Check the weather before deciding where to go. It sounds like you're telling someone what to do. Now I've got a statement and exclamation. A statement, the easiest way to think about this is when you've read a statement, you can kind of go, cool, thanks for that. Thanks for the information, like I did earlier. So which one sounds like a statement? I expect the weather to be fine at the weekend. And what fantastic weather we have had this year. They both kind of sound like statements. So let's deepen this understanding. An exclamation is a sentence that starts with a questioning word like what or how, but it's not a question. So this bottom one is an exclamation. What fantastic weather we've had this year. A lot of people are fooled into thinking it's a question because it starts with what, but if you read it, it's not. Which leaves this top one here to be a statement. It's just a fact. It's just a piece of information. I expect the weather to be fine at the weekend. Okay, thanks, mate. That's what you could say if someone said that. They're just stating something to you about what they believe or what they think is true. Right, let's keep moving on. Number 15, which sentence is written in standard English? So we're looking for proper English, not slang, not ways you might talk that's not proper English in it. I went to the library and done my homework. No, I did my homework. They seen their friends. No, they have seen their friends would make more sense. I been to the circus. I have been to the circus or had been to the circus. So let's hope the last one. I sang with the school choir in the concert. That is completely fine. Number 16. What is the name of the punctuation marks on either side of the words which was a spaniel in this sentence? Well, we know what these are, don't we? They come in pairs and we call them brackets. Okay, spelling doesn't matter on this part of the paper when you're just writing a word class, but you've got to be close enough that someone can at least read what you meant. What is the name of a different punctuation mark that could be used correctly in the same places? Well, there's 2 answers here. You could put dashes or you could put commas. Okay, so we can use brackets, dashes, and commas to show parenthesis. Parenthesis is extra information in a sentence. In this case, it's a relative clause. Number 17. Replace the underlined words in the sentence below with their expanded form. So we're looking at contractions now. When 2 words are put into one using a conjunction, using a apostrophe, we're now expanding them back out into 2 words. We're going, that means we are. Now guess what? If you didn't put a capital letter there, you actually wouldn't get a mark. They're really picky with this, okay? You be careful because it's the start of the sentence. We are going into town later, so I'll buy some bread then. So, which means I will buy some bread then. Again, capital I, very important. We won't be back late. Now, this is a more complex one, isn't it? Because it doesn't look like the 2 words that it is, because won't actually comes from will not. We didn't make will not willn't. We made it won't instead. It is a bit abstract. Number 18, you are helping a friend to correct the punctuation in the box below. Which 2 pieces of advice should you give to correct the punctuation? So having a look at that punctuation yourself, just thinking about what's wrong. Well, firstly, there should be some punctuation right here. And because it's surprise, I'd probably suggest that that's an exclamation mark. Surprise, exclamation mark, and then the inverted commas. And I wouldn't put it there. So I'd be getting rid of that one and putting it here. So let's see what tells us this. There should be an exclamation mark after the word surprise. That's exactly what we just said. There should be an exclamation mark after the inverted commas. No, it should go before that. The sentence should end with a full stop instead of an exclamation mark. Yes, because if we're moving that over there, it should just be a full stop on the end instead. And we've ticked 2 already. So there's our 2 answers. It makes sense to just spend a bit of time on it first before you jump into the question. Number 19. Which sentence uses capital letters correctly? Classic. Let's just go through it. So, anything not starting with the capital letter, that's fine. The athlete won 4 gold medals at the Olympic Games. Guys, the Olympic Games is a proper noun. It needs to be capitalized. So I'm going to get rid of this one, and I'm going to get rid of this one because neither of them capitalize Olympic Games. Let's have a look. The second one capitalizes gold medals. Now, unfortunately, that is just a common noun. There's nothing special about the word gold medals. There's thousands of them in the world. So we don't need to put capital letters there, which hopefully means this last one is the correct answer. The athlete won 4 gold medals at the Olympic Games in London. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And start of the sentence. We're happy with that. Number 20, insert a semicolon. My favorite piece of punctuation ever. Semicolon looks like this, a comma with a dot on top of it. It's kind of a half, a comma, half a colon, hence the word semicolon. Semi means half, in the correct place. So what do semicolons do? They join 2 related clauses together. You can think of it as a really posh conjunction, okay? I will use a semicolon instead of a conjunction when the 2 clauses either side of it are really related, and they're main clauses. There are Roman ruins near our village. There's a main clause. They are being excavated next week. That's a main clause. Rather than putting and here, because they're really related to each other, I can use a semicolon. Look at that. Okay, so just to recap there, semicolons join 2 related main clauses together instead of a conjunction. Number 21. What does the root word graph mean in the word family below? We've got graphics, autograph, photography, and paragraph. Well, 3 of them are about writing, aren't they? They're all to do with writing. And then photograph, you think about imagery, right? Imagery. So what kind of matches this? Moving pictures? Not really. Writing or drawing? I mean, that's basically what we just said, isn't it? Colourful or bright? No. In a group? No. Okay, so there's our best answer, isn't it? Sometimes it's not the exact thing you put. I'm thinking imagery. They put drawing. I can see the link there. That's okay. It's the best answer of the 4. Number 22, circle the word in the passage that contains an apostrophe for possession. So we've got an apostrophe here, not for possession. Okay, that's just a contraction. This is also a contraction. Okay, let us leave early. We will be able. So these are all contractions so far, whereas this word is showing that the house belongs to Emma. It's possession. Emma's house. Number 23, tick 1 box in each row to show whether the commas are used correctly in the sentence or not. So they're used correctly or they're not. The blackbird, comma, which nests in sheltered places, comma, lays several eggs at a time. This is great because it's got a relative clause embedded with 2 commas here. Just like we looked at earlier with the parenthesis, that could have been brackets or dashes as well, but they're being used absolutely correctly. Her hobbies include walking, comma, gardening, comma, sewing, and reading. They're using it correctly in a list. I was looking for that cheeky comma they sometimes put before the and, but they didn't. My bag filled, comma, with chocolates and sweets fell on the floor. It doesn't make any sense, does it? It should be my bag, comma, filled with chocolates and sweets, comma, fell onto the floor, but they've not really done that right. Sometimes it's good to try and think what the sentence would have been. My case is heavy because I have shoes, comma, clothes, comma, books, comma, and a gift, comma, for my friend in it. This comma right here is screaming at me. Exactly what I said in that first list where they commonly do that wrong. So there we are with 2 correctly, 2 incorrectly. Number 24, prepositions. I love this word. It's the most obvious word in grammar ever because it has the word position in it. Prepositions are just words that show position, show direction of movement. He walked through, okay, through the doorway, not under the doorway, not above the doorway. He walked through the doorway and sat behind, not under, not above, not below. He sat behind the desk. Prepositions, quite obvious things to find in sentences. 25. Rearrange the words in the statement below to make it a question. Use only the words given. That's interesting. This is a lot of children forget that part here. And they make a lovely question, but they add in their own words. So, they are listening to music. If we just swap the first 2, it will say, are they listening to music? So I've used all the same words. I've just swapped these 2 and put a question mark on the end. If you didn't put a capital letter and a question mark at the end, you would not have got that right, even if you got the right words in the right order. So be super cautious of that, guys, for the GPS test. 26. Circle the 2 words that show tense in the sentence below. So what is giving it tense? What's showing that it's past, present, or future tense? They went to the theme park. The car journey home was difficult. Okay, went. This verb tells us that it was the past tense. And also, the car journey home was difficult. Well, was is also a verb, a bit more of an abstract verb, but it's telling us again it's in past tense as opposed to is difficult, which would be in the present tense. So those 2 words, those 2 verbs give us the tense. Question 27. Underline the subordinate clause in each sentence below. So a subordinate clause is the bit that doesn't make sense by itself, not the main clause. Although it was getting late, if I said that out loud, you'd be waiting for more, right? That's because it's a subordinate clause. It doesn't make sense by itself. If you get hungry, again, look, another subordinate clause at the start, very commonly marked with a comma after it before the main clause. that comes after it. Help yourself to a snack, for example. I really enjoy swimming. Okay, that does make sense by itself. That is a main clause. Despite finding it difficult, there's my subordinate clause this time. That doesn't make sense by itself. I could have put that at the start of the sentence. Despite finding it difficult, I really enjoy swimming. That's how I can identify it easily. Number 28. Circle the conjunction in each sentence below. The children had not read the book, yet they knew the story off by heart. Yet is a lovely conjunction. And keep your hat on until the rain has stopped. Until is acting as a conjunction there. It's joining the two parts of the sentence together. Quite an easy question, that one. Number 29. Tick one box in each row to show whether the underlying clause is a main or subordinate clause. We've just been practicing this, so let's see if it makes sense by itself. Which has 3 playing fields? No, that's a relative clause, which is a type of subordinate clause. It doesn't make sense by itself. It is dependent on the main clause. I still had the energy for my lessons. Yeah, you could say that to me and it would make sense as a sentence by itself. We will be proud. Yeah, it's a short sentence, but it makes sense, doesn't it? You could come up to me and say, we will be proud. I'll be like, brilliant, well done, good for you. It's a main clause. Number 30. Insert a comma in the sentence below to make it clear that only Sally and Bob went to the cinema. After they left, John, Sally and Bob went to the cinema. So it sounds like 3 people, right? So let's make it clear that it's only Sally and Bob by putting it here. After they left John, so now that's become our subordinate clause. The main clause is Sally and Bob went to the cinema. Perfect. Insert commas in the sentence below to make it clear that all 3 children went to the cinema. Notice that this went from comma to commas. Sometimes noticing these things can really give you a clue. After they left, comma, John, comma, Sally and Bob went to the cinema. We needed 2 here. This one is at the end of our subordinate clause to our main clause, and this one is being used for a list. So even though they're just around one word, they both have very different uses. Number 31. Explain how the prefixes change the meanings of the sentences below. The chef said the pasta was uncooked. So the prefix is un. This means that the pasta was not yet cooked. Okay, it's not even been cooked. Or you could say not cooked at all. All right, to make it really clear. Not yet cooked at all. It hasn't been cooked yet. Whereas when it says undercooked, which is a similar prefix in the fact that it has un in it, it means something very different. This means the pasta has not been cooked, as a key word here, enough. Okay, does that make sense? It has been cooked, but not been cooked enough. So there's a slight difference there. Not cooked at all, been cooked a bit, but not enough. Number 32, circle the 2 conjunctions in the sentence below. The passengers moved to get out, but the pilot, so that's a nice obvious one, but the pilot held up his hand and they stood still. Very obvious conjunction question there, guys. But and, 2 really common ones. Number 33. Replace the underlined word or words in each sentence with the correct possessive pronoun. So possessive pronouns showing that something belongs to someone. So that bike belongs to me. That bike is mine. So the word mine is a pronoun because you're not using the name of the person, of yourself, and the word mine suggests that something belongs to you. This house is owned by us. This house is ours. Okay, it's more than one person. These video games belong to my brother. These games are his. Okay, so all 3 of those pronouns are possessive by nature. Number 34, write an explanation of the word antonym. Well, hopefully you've learnt at school synonyms. Oh, I can't spell it. Synonyms and antonyms. Okay, synonyms are words that mean the same or very similar. Antonyms are words that mean as far as opposite as they possibly can. So write an explanation. I'm just going to put it in a really short sentence. Words with opposite meaning. Excellent. Simple as that. Write one word that is an antonym of fierce. So fierce, if you're fierce, I guess it's kind of fiery, isn't it? It's sort of the same word. The opposite of being fierce, I guess, would be calm or gentle. Okay, so you could put calm, you could put gentle, or you could put another word that means the same sort of thing. There'd be lots of different answers here. As long as it means the opposite of fierce, then you would get the mark. Number 35. Complete the sentences below using the simple past tense of the verbs in the boxes. So the simple past tense is just the past tense that you've learned all your life. It's the first one you ever learned. Okay, it's simple because we do it in one word, as opposed to the progressive tense where we were like was happening rather than happened. So the simple past tense is use it in one word. Just put ed on if you can, or if it's an abstract word, you might have to do it in a different way. It was a cold day when we played. Okay, simple past tense, no funny business. My friend throw, well, it's going to be threw. So there we go. Look, there we've got a slightly abstract one. The ball to me and I catch it. You wouldn't say catched, you'd say caught. Now the trickiest part of this is you just got to spell it right. A lot of children don't know how to spell caught properly. They might do it like this. Caught, or the other homophone of caught, which is the wrong one. So be careful. You would lose your marks even though you knew the word, if you don't spell it right. Number 36, complete the passage with adjectives derived from the nouns in the brackets. So in other words, look at the brackets, turn it into a correct adjective. So you're using your word family knowledge here. Tia hopes to become a famous sportswoman. Her athlete achievements already include, so her athletic, again, no marks if you don't spell it right, achievements already include winning races in her hometown. She hopes to win nation competitions one day. National competitions. So national is just nation with an AL on the end. So again, to get 1 mark, you have to spell both correct. You have to know them both and spell them both right to get that mark. These questions can be really harsh sometimes, guys. Number 37, which option correctly completes the sentence below? The child something story won the competition had worked very hard. Okay, the only one that's screaming out here is the word whose, right? It sounds right. The child whose story won the competition worked very hard, but which one is it? Okay, it's not this, it's not this. Which whose? Well, here's a little bit of learning for you. With this whose always means who is or who was, okay? The child who is story, the child who was story doesn't make any sense. We're just trying to show possession with a possessive pronoun. The child whose story won the competition would be this one. So when in doubt, think about what the apostrophe means. It's the same with its and its, isn't it? You've got this it and this its. This one only means it is. So therefore, if it is doesn't work, it has to be the other one. So through the process of deduction, if you know one of them, then by default, you know the other one's correct. Does that make sense? Number 38, write a sentence using the word point as a verb. Do not change the words. We have to use point, okay? Point at me. There you go. Point at me. I'm using it as a verb. I'm telling you to do the action to point. And now I've got to write it as a noun. So as a noun, think about a point, like a point on a pencil, okay? My pencil has a sharp point. So in this case, it's nothing to do with pointing. It's the noun, it's the thing, a point on a pencil. And if I didn't put a full stop, I wouldn't get the mark. So be super careful, guys. I keep saying it because I need you to learn that, understand, remember that. Underline the relative clause in the sentence below. Earlier on, I told you that a relative clause is a type of subordinate clause. It starts with a relative pronoun, like who, which, or that, are very, very common. The old house that is next to our school is for sale. That is next to our school is a relative clause, and you can test it by taking it out of the sentence and reading the rest. It should be a main clause. The old house is for sale. There's my main clause. My relative clause has been embedded into the middle. Number 40. Oh, active and passive voice. Everyone's favourite. Just kidding. Tick 1 box in each row to show whether the sentence is written in the active voice or the passive voice. Okay. I'm going to try and think of a simple way to explain this one without going on in too much detail. So when you normally write a sentence, you write subject, verb, object, right? And the subject is doing something to the object. Yeah? The subject is doing something to the object, like this first one. Otters live in clean rivers. So otters are doing something to the rivers. They are living in them. Okay, that is active. That's a normal sentence. Passive is when you switch these around and you make it sound like the object is having something done to it by the subject. So it kind of looks like this, okay? And you got the word by is our key word. The object is having something done to it by the subject. And you can see that this one is a really good example of passive. Fish are eaten by otters. That's passive. The normal way of saying that, the active way, would just be otters eat fish. Make sense? You switched it around. You've got the key word there, by. And the last one, there's no word by in it. And it's really hard to justify it as being active or passive because we've got the subject, the verb, and the object, but it's not a traditional sentence like these ones up here. It's a bit harder. This is inactive. There's no way you could write this in passive anyway. There's no evidence that the object is having something done to it by the subject. The subject is just at the start of the sentence right here. You can ignore the fronted adverbial. That's just there to throw you off of the main clause. Okay, so tricky question, but if in doubt, go with active unless you can find evidence that it is passive by using by in the sentence. You'll be pleased to know number 41 is exactly the same thing. Rewrite the sentence below so that it is in the active voice, which means it's currently in the passive voice, which we know because look, I just told you it's got the word by in it. We've got something having something done to it by something else. Let's switch them around. So we've got the results and we've got the judges. We want to put them the other way around in the sentence. So the results were announced by the judges. I'm now going to make it the judges announced, my verb there, announced the results. Okay, can you see how that's the same meaning? Yeah. Sometimes people forget to change the verb in the middle just to make sure it makes sense, and they say something like, the judges were announced by the results. And you've actually just completely changed the meaning of the sentence, and it doesn't make sense when you do that. So you've got to make the meaning is still the same. You're just switching the order in which you learn about the subject and the object. I told you I wouldn't go on too much about it because I could do a whole video on this. And perhaps I will. Stick around on the channel if you'd like to see that. Circle the two adverbs in the sentence below. So adverbs, again, how or when. Okay, something happened. Ready? All of the passengers cheered loudly. There's the first one. That's telling us how they cheered. And we cheered too. Okay, again, it's telling us how or when we cheered. We cheered as well as these. So there you go. Two adverbs. One's a bit trickier to spot than the other. Two. Number 43, guys, we're nearly there. Tick the option which shows how the underlined words in the sentence below are used. The insect-eating Venus flytrap is a carnivorous plant. This is a classic example, guys, of a noun phrase. A noun phrase is when you have adjectives and a noun describing the noun, and you can also include a determiner at the start. Most people don't learn it like that, but a determiner can be inside of a noun phrase. So you've got determiner, you've got adjectives. Oh, that's supposed to say adjectives. And then you've got the Venus flytrap, the noun. So it's a noun phrase. Number 44, which verb completes the sentence so that it uses the subjunctive form? The subjunctive form is simply when you are thinking of imaginary things. You're thinking of like potentials in the future, like wishing about something. I wish. And when you use this phrase, you don't say I wish I was. You actually say I wish I were. It kind of flips the script because normally were is for plural, isn't it? And was is for one person. But in the subjunctive, you use the word were. So that's why it's the answer. Easiest way to learn that is just literally learn that phrase. I wish I were. And also this one, if I were. They're both about imagining a different reality that doesn't exist. If I were a doctor, I would save everybody. That's the subjunctive because it's not real. Number 45, what is the function of the sentence below? How well you've done. Starts with a questioning word, but it isn't a question. What did I say earlier in this video? That makes it an exclamation. All right, how well you've done should end with a question, an exclamation mark. It starts with a questioning word, isn't a question, it's an exclamation. Guys, the last question. You've made it this far. Well done. I hope I haven't gone too fast for you. Number 46, which sentence uses the present perfect form? Ugh, another tense one with these weird words before it. Here, rather, I've underlined present instead. We know what present tense means, so let's kind of stick with that. I bet we can solve this without even needing to know what perfect form means. And just so you know, perfect form is when you use had or has to kind of show that thing has been completed. It's perfected, almost, you could say. So look at this. Joe went shopping on Saturday and she bought. This is all in past tense. It's not present tense. The girl entered at the last minute and won the race. Wins would be present tense. That's all in past tense. My sister was a reserve, but she scored the winning goal. Still in past tense. Watch this one. My dog was very naughty, past tense, but look, watch what happens. But since the classes, he has been much better. It's flipped now. If it was had, it'd still be past tense. He has been much better. And because it's kind of showing you here, since then, now we're in the present, he has been much better. This is present perfect. There's a reason it's number 46. It's a really tricky concept to understand. But there we go. We've made it through the whole paper. End of test. Of course, it's very customary to draw a big smiley face right here. Don't do it in the real paper, guys, because, you shouldn't do that. But for me on this, I'm going to say well done to all of us. Guys, thank you for tuning into this video. We have got tons more walkthroughs coming. So if you've already checked out some because you're watching this in the future and they're all out, amazing. Go and check out some more on the channel. If you're watching this in the week that we've released it, guess what? We're releasing another one next week, and the week after, and the week after, and the week after, and the week after. And I think about 5 or 6 more times after that. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See ya.